Hi everyone, how are you? How was your day? How are you feeling today? I'm seeing, I think maybe two or one new face. How are you? Hi, Aurelio, Emily, Aranza, Livni. How are you today?
Good evening.
Good evening, Aurelio. How are you feeling today? How was your day?
I am fine, like Julian in the song,
Oh, sorry, I didn't catch that.
como Julián in the song.
Oh, like Julian in the song. Which sound? Sorry, I'm not familiar with Julian Alvarez. Is the one you're referring to?
The sentence, fine, 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 very good.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. Same here, Aurelio. And you, Emily, Aranza, Livni, how are you today?
Fine, thanks.
Fine, good to hear. So, today we're going to finish yesterday's topic and also finish a bit of the presentation for myself. So, um, mm, yeah, let's finish yesterday's topic first. So, does anyone remember what was the topic? What did we see yesterday? What did we start seeing?
Relative clause.
Very good. Relative clauses. We started seeing relative clauses. You told me you already saw a bit of relative clauses, maybe a lot of it. I'm not really sure, but I think you've had some past experience with relative clauses. So this should be a bit straightforward, right? So what would we see about relative clauses? We focused on one thing, the thing that they begin with. What was that?
We focus on the relative pronouns.
Exactly. Very good. The relative pronouns. That's the thing we started seeing, the thing we started to learn. Well, I think you already saw a bit of that, but again, in this presentation, it's a bit of review from your past level, I think, right before we begin with new topics, more complicated topics. So, very good. We start seeing relative pronouns. So we saw which ones? Anyone remembers? Which ones did we see? They were, mm, I think, four. Nope, no one
They
remembers. Sorry.
they were who, whom, which, and whose.
Very good. All of those. So when do we use whose? Let's see, Aurelio. Do you remember when we use whose? About what type of sentence? For what?
Mm,
We use the example of, if I'm not mistaken, the keys.
whose um, he is uh, the man whose wife shopping in the mall.
Very good. So why did we use whose on that sentence? You used it correctly. Lo utilizaste muy bien. But why? Why did you use whose there with wife? You used whose wife, I think is somewhere you said, no? So you used it correctly, but why? Why do you use whose? Why not who or whom?
Uh, is for specific. Uh,
When something is yours, you remember? For example, this, let's say this is my marker. This is mine. What type of word is mine? Remember? If I own this is mine. What type of word is mine? We used it for what?
His market in the case of example is whose for wife is a person.
Very good. It's in the case of your example, it's a person. But why are you using whose? That's why I'm trying to get you to see. No, why do you use whose? Because it's well used. Está muy bien utilizado. Pero ¿por qué se utilizó ahí? Whose wife? It starts with P. We use whose for what? ¿Para qué
Add,
utilizamos?
add information about wives of the men.
Almost kind of on the same way. Anyone remembers?
For possession.
Exactly. Possessions. That's why in the case of your sentence is well used. In the case of your sentence, you're saying not just a wife. You're not saying that is a wife that was there. You're saying that it's the wife from the person or the main subject of your sentence. Since that could be it's grammatically speaking, let's keep this in mind. Grammatically speaking, we use possession in this case to say that it's his wife. How do we put it as a relative clause? The exact same way you did it. You did it correct. I don't want you to go with the wrong idea. You did it perfectly. The reason why we use whose and why we don't use, for example, who, whom, or which is because you're talking about possession, a previous relation between the wife and the subject. And she is not just a wife from any random person. She's the wife of the main subject. So it could be seen as possession grammatically speaking. I'm just trying to lay the groundwork. No, let's remember this is just grammatically speaking. So very, very good. Thank you, Aureli. What was one of the other words we saw yesterday? Anyone?
Whom?
Whom? Very, very good. The most difficult one, in my opinion. Can you use it in a sentence?
Bueno, we use who with people and pets or animals. An example.
Oh, you mean who? Like this?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Sorry. I thought you said whom. Yes, awesome.
Oh, no. Cool.
So, how would you use it with in a sentence?
For example, a ver, estoy pensando. I'm thinking about.
Don't worry. Take your time.
Okay, he's a doctor who
So far,
attend
so
to
good.
okay. He's a doctor who attended to me in the hospital.
Excellent sentence. Amazing. Relative clause with the proper use of who. Can you remind us why you used who in that sentence and not whom or whose or which?
Because who we use the word for refers to the person, like
Exactly. That as simply as that. As simply as that. We use it to refer to persons. A doctor is a person. So we use who. We can also use another word that we're going to see today. So let's turn our eyes towards the presentation. Just 1 second. So, can you tell me? You can't see it yet. Give Give me just one second. So, can you see my presentation now? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. So, these are the words we saw yesterday. These are the first thing we're going to see in a relative clause. These are always there when it comes to relative clauses. Estas siempre van a estar ahí cuando estemos hablando acerca de las relative clauses. Tengan eso muy en mente. But these aren't the only ones we can use. So let's move on to the next one. And let's see these final 5. So, let's see. Aurelian, Ransom, Rennie, Emily, could you help me with the first one?
Yes, that refers to people, things, and animals. It's a poor mouse that has only one hole.
I think right here it's one hole. So it's missing an E, but excellent. Very good. Thank you, Emily. What we're going to see most commonly is that is the most used relative pronoun. That va a ser el pronombre relativo más utilizado. Why? Because it can refer to people, it can refer to things, and it can refer to animals. It's a jack of all trades. Let me put it right here in chat in case you don't know the word. Jack of all trades. Oh, sorry. What does that mean? Significa que le puede hacer de todo. That's a jack of all trades. So we're going to use that for literally almost everything. Casi todo, we're going to use that. Almost everything. So that is going to be our savior in almost every sentence. Just keep that in mind. It can refer to people, it can refer to things, and it can refer to animals. So, having said this, Gael, could you help me with the next one?
Hi. Sorry. Where refers to place. Sign your name on the form where I have put a cross.
Very good. So, we're saying, thank you, Gael. We're saying that where, we're going to use it in the same way we use it on every other question with where. What does where mean in a question? In Spanish, when we ask, for example, where is the cinema? What does where mean?
¿Dónde?
Exactamente. Very good. And that's the same thing here. Exact same thing. We use it for places in asking questions. We can use it for places in relative clauses. Same exact line of thinking. So just keep that in mind. Where? Exact same usage. Exact same usage. So thank you, Gail. Let's move on. Hi, Suzanne. Could you help me with the next one?
Hi. When refers to time. Let's cross the bridge when we come to it.
Very good. Thank you, Suzanne. So, in the same way that where we use it for places in both asking questions and relative clauses, when we're going to use it to ask for time or refer towards time, asking questions and relative clauses. That's why these 5 are a lot easier and simpler than the previous ones. We're basically already seen them constantly. Since level 1, since we started learning English, we know the uses for these ones, right? We just need to accommodate it a bit in a structure, the structure that we're going to see a bit further on. So thank you, Suzanne. Let's move on. So, Aurelio, could you help me with the next one?
Wise refers to reasons. I'd like to know the reason why you're so late.
Very good. Thank you, Aurelio. In the same way that these previous ones refer to the questions, this one, why, refers to something that happened. It wants an explanation. Requiere una explicación, ¿no? For example, in a question, we use why. What would be the equivalent in Spanish?
¿Por qué?
Very, very good. ¿Por qué? That's already telling us, oh, we need to do an explanation. We need to say something that explains something else. Same exact usage here. Same exact usage. When we're explaining something, when we are saying, okay, I don't know, I want you to explain to me why you failed your exams, for example. No, we're asking for a reason. We're asking for an explanation. Anytime we want an explanation about something, we can use why as a relative clause. So just keep that in mind. And finally, could you help me with the last one, Aranza?
Yes. What refers to things. Pardon me, I didn't hear what you say.
Very, very good. Thank you, Aranza. So what refers to things? Same exact thing we see in the previous ones. We already use it constantly. Since level 1, since present simple, we've been using what constantly to refer to things. What's the equivalent in Spanish?
¿Qué?
¿Qué? Exactly. So we only use it to refer to things. So main things to keep in mind before we move on to the structures of relative clauses. What are the restrictive ones? What are not restrictive ones? Things to keep in mind. That is going to be the most used relative pronoun. This one, well, actually, give me 1 second. There we go. So this one's going to be the most used one. Anywhere we go, be it America, be it Canada, be it England or Australia, that we're going to hear it almost in every sentence. In almost every sentence. Why? Because it can be applied to almost anything. So just keep that in mind. That we're going to see it constantly, and we're going to see a lot of it. It's the most used one. Not to say these aren't used. These are also used. These ones as well as oh, it doesn't let me change. As well as these ones. They're all used. What's the most common one? That. What's the least common one? The most difficult one. Which one do you think it is? What's the least common one, do you think? ¿Cuál creen que sea la menos utilizada? If that is the most used one, which one do you think you're going to see the least?
Whom, maybe?
Very, very good. Whom. Whom is the least used one. Why? Because right now, at this level, all of you, know more grammatically correct English than the average English speaker. You know a bit more than someone that grew up in the United States and didn't study something particularly focused on writing. You know slightly more about structures. You know the way things are supposed or why those things are structured in that way. So, whom being something that you can only use with the object of a verb, with something that is further on in the sentence, and that is kind of complex to explain from the ground up. That kind of thing we're going to see almost nowhere. Unspoken English in America, in Canada, in England, in Australia. This one is going to be the least used one. All of the others are going to be commonly used, more or less. It depends. The most used one always is going to be that, and the least used one, I don't think you will find it or you'll hear it in a normal conversation in English. If you're having a normal conversation in English and you spend there, I don't know, let's say 5 years, you may hear this one around 2 times. Speaking with someone that knows grammatical structures. That's the only time you're going to see this. This one is the least used one. I just want you to know because a lot of you told me you wanted to use this English course for overseas travel. Well, not just overseas travel, but just traveling, right? So just to let you know, not very common, extremely common, just so you can have that in mind. So now that we've seen the relative pronouns, what we use them for, let's move on to the clauses. So, last one was what? I think it was Emily or Aranza. Who read what? Sorry. Let's say Aranza. So, Emily, could you help me with the restrictive relative clauses?
Me?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Restrictive relative classes. Restrictive relative classes give information that defines the noun, information that's necessary for complete identification of the noun. Use that or which for non-human nouns. Use that or who for human nouns. Do not use commas.
Very good. Thank you, Emily. And I'm going to explain a bit more just to compare it with this one over here. So let's hear about non-restrictive relative clauses. Gael, could you help me with these ones? Gael, are you there?
Sorry. Non-restrictive relative clause.
Yes, please.
Okay. This type of relative clause merely provides extra information. The information may be quite interesting, but it is not essential for precise identification of the noun. That cannot be used as a relative pronoun in a non-restrictive relative clause. Commas are always used at the beginning and end of this type of relative clause.
Very good. Thank you, Gael. So now that we've heard and read about both of these, let's see the differences. A restrictive relative clause is going to give you extremely important information. It's going to give you vital information to know about what you're talking about. They cannot be separated from the main clause or from the main sentence. An example. Can anyone give me 1 second. There we go. So, if I remember correctly, Aurelio, could you help me with your sentence, the one you used?
You said what relative?
Oh,
Oh,
yes. But the sentence you used in the beginning of the class, at the beginning.
mm,
Do you remember? You used whose.
who's okay? Ah, he is the man whose wife shopping in the mall.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Aurelio. Whose wife? Let's put was shopping. So right here, we have a restrictive relative clause. But why? Anyone? Why is this restrictive? If we take away this, does it have the same meaning? Is this the same as this?
No,
No. But why?
because the relative clause is important in this sentence to like have the same meaning or like the complete.
Sorry, could you finish? Sorry for interrupting.
Oh, the makes it has the same meaning and also give like a complete idea.
Very, very good. So we cannot delete this. This is vital information. Why? Because, as you well said, if we don't have this, if this is gone, we don't know which man. Let's say we're in the middle of a busy mall and we're seeing a lot of people. There are a lot of men. So I don't know, you're with your partner, your Valentine's date, and they say, "Oh, he is the man." What man? What are you talking about? I don't get it. What are you referring to? He's the man whose wife was shopping at the mall. This is important. This tells us who. This gives us the entire information. Okay, so I know what you're referring to, who you're referring to. In contrast, let's go here with a non-restrictive relative clause. Let's say, for example, no, let's say the man. Whose wife was shopping at the mall. And no, gave me $100. No. So right here, why is this non-restrictive? Does it have the same meaning if I take off this? Is it the same sentence? What's the important thing here? What's the main focus of the sentence? Sorry?
The important thing is who is the man, and without that clause, the sentence don't have sense.
It doesn't have sense? Can we not say the man? Oh, sorry. I gave me. Let's put that man. Sorry. It doesn't have sense? It doesn't make
Yes.
sense? Sorry. Right here, does it make sense?
If you are like talking with the person, have sense.
Very, very good. So this here makes perfect sense. Sorry. This makes absolutely perfect sense. This is a complete question. This is a complete sentence. So if I take this off, if I delete it, that man gave me $100. Can you get the sentence? Is it a fully fledged sentence? Can you understand it?
Yes. Yes.
Very, very good. Yes, we can absolutely get this. You're talking about a man that gave you $100. So what's the purpose of this? Same thing. Same exact thing here. You know? This is a restrictive one and this is a non-restrictive one. But why? What's the difference?
The
Because
purpose. Uh,
Sorry?
The commas?
Very, very good. The commas make all the difference in the world. Why? Because these commas in a grammatical structure means that this is just extra information. This can be interesting, this can be even vital to know about who you're talking about, but it isn't necessary. You can have the perfect sentence in the exact same way and the exact same meaning without it. Those commas make a lot of difference. Those commas say, okay, that man gave me $100. Complete finished sentence. What the commas are going to do? Add extra information. That's it. You don't need it. It's not absolutely necessary, but you can have it. It's just in its own little sentence. So keep that in mind. Restrictive relative clauses, the relative clause is imperative. It's vital. It's needed to make sense. You need this to have the complete picture. You need it. Why? Because right here, what's the point? If you're saying he is the man, I don't know what you're referring to. There are a lot of men here. You need to explain yourself. You need to give me a bit more context about who you're talking about. And right here below, you don't need the context. You're just saying that man, okay, I know who you're talking about, gave me $100. I know. Awesome. That's exactly what I needed to hear. This is the entire sentence. That's the focus. The focus on this first sentence is in knowing who he is, right? Not the action. The action can be in like second place. Puede quedar en el fondo. The main thing here is who are you talking about? And the main thing here is what he did. That's the difference. Now, remember, restrictive relative clauses will never, 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 never have a comma. Never. Commas are only used with the non-restrictive relative clauses. I already told you why. If it's between commas, we can delete it, and there's no issue. Details there. Hasta ahí llega. So, let's keep going. Let's see a bit more about restrictive relative clauses and then move on to the non-restrictive ones. So, last one, if I'm not mistaken, was Gael. So, Livni, could you help me with this one here?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Restrictive relative clause. I like the movie. Which movie? We can clearly identify it with you, the relative clause. So we add the clause. The movie is about a heist. I like the movie that has a heist
A heist.
or a heist. Okay,
Perfect.
okay. Or I like the movie, which is about the heist. Again, this is acceptable, but some people object to using which in a restrictive relative clause. That is preferred. Students who study hard will do well in my class. Only this group of students will do well. Okay. Students whose grades are low can drop one test score. Only this group can drop a test score.
Excellent reading. Thank you, Livni. So, here we're seeing the restrictive clause in use. So, as we saw before with the example given to us by Aurelio, we don't know what we're talking about. We know the general information, which is a movie, which is a man. We need more. We need context. We need a fully fledged explanation of who we're talking about or what we're talking about. So we add two. We all can already see it right here with the movies. Let's see it again, but a bit more explained with the man. Say it was there we go. So right here, this can be divided into two sentences. What are they? What's the other sentence? This same information can be distilled into two sentences, like this. I like the movie is about a heist. End result, I like the movie that has a heist, or I like the movie which has a heist. But in this sentence from before, how can we make these two sentences?
The other sentence will be like, his wife was shopping at the mall.
Excellent. Very, very good. His other sentence would be, his wife was shopping at the mall. These are the two sentences we're packing into one. Why? To give it a bit more context. That's the only reason we need it. We need to know which man. We don't know, if you just tell me man, I don't know who you're talking about. I need you to explain yourself. I need you to give me a bit more context. You can do it in two sentences, which sounds a bit robotic, or you can use a relative clause. And that's it. That's the way we can use a restrictive relative clause. It gives us vital information, right? So another thing I laid here for you, another little thing, is that we normally use that with restrictive clauses. We won't hear which a lot in a restrictive clause, but it can be used. Now, that can only be used with restrictive clauses. Why? Well, restrictive relative clauses. But why? Can any of you catch a glimpse about why we can only use this relative pronoun in restrictive relative clauses? I'm going to put it right here in Spanish. Let's put vamos a heist. Why can we only use that with a restrictive relative clause?
Because that adds information that is necessary for the sentence to make like sense or the same meaning.
Very, very good. That is always going to give us essential information. Always. Same exact thing in Spanish. Me gusta la película que tiene un robo. That is already telling us that this information is essential. I need you to know this next part so you can get the full picture, so you can get the full context, the entire context. That is always going to be used with a restrictive relative clause because it always tells us that is extremely important. That's the difference. You're never going to see, well, if you see it, you might think you have to see it and think, okay, this is badly written. This isn't good writing. Why? Because that is never going to be between commas. Never, never, never. You're never going to see it with a comma. Never. I can't stress this enough. So, why am I particularly saying this or making emphasis on this? Because on your TOEFL exams, if you decide to take it, there's going to be questions about this, and it's not going to be, oh, does that function in a relative clause? You're going to have a sentence like this. One second. For example, saying this, okay, the movie that has a heist made me cry. For example, no hypothetical. Is this sentence correct or not?
Not.
Nope. And this is the type of questions that's going to be on your TOEFL exams. This is going to be 100% wrong. That is never going to go between commas. It can go after a comma in a longer paragraph, but in a relative clause, it's never going to be between commas. Never, never, never. So this would be wrong. What would be if they ask us to change it? Because those are another type of question that you can see on your TOEFL exam. They put you this exact same sentence, but say below, if there's an issue, please write the correct sentence. How would you make it better? The exact same thing. You write the exact same thing, just delete the commas. And that's it. So remember, that can never be between commas. It can have one comma in a longer paragraph. For example, let's say you're going to do something else. In a longer paragraph, let's say, for example, there we go. With a really great cast. Oh, I see. So, is this sentence correct or not? Oh, actually, it's not, but there we go. So, is this sentence correct or not? Anyone, anyone? Is
Yes, it
that
is.
very, very good? Yes, it is. This one is 100% correct because this relative clause, is it restrictive or non-restrictive? This first part, restrictive relative clause or non-restrictive?
Strict.
Very, very good. This one is restrictive. We need this information. And right here, is this one restrictive or non-restrictive?
Non-restrictive.
Very, very good. This one is non-restrictive. We don't need this. We can delete this, and we have the original one. We have the good one, for example, no, just to say. So this and this can be correct. I don't think they're going to ask you about this one. This one is a bit more complex. A sentence with two restrictive clauses, sorry, with two relative clauses. It's going to be seldom heard of, but I'm playing it here in case you want. You can have two relative clauses, but they have to be separated. Why? With the thing that separates the relative non-restrictive clauses, which is the commas. I'm going to repeat it in Spanish just so I can make sure you understand. Lo voy a decir de nuevo en español, nada más para asegurarme que lo hayan entendido. Pueden haber dos relative clauses en una oración, 100%. Pero lo que hay que tener muy en cuenta es que la restrictive one, la que es restrictive, no va a tener coma. No va a tener coma antes y después. Puede llevar una después, pero nunca antes. Nunca puede estar entre comas. Esto no existe. Bueno, sí existe, pero está mal. Así que solamente para que tengan eso en cuenta. So, having said that, oh my God, it's already 7:52. So, let's move on to this final presentation about the non-restrictive ones. We already saw most of these, but let's review it nonetheless. So, last one was, I'm sorry. Last one was, I think it was Livni. So, Suzanne, could you help me with non-restrictive relative clauses?
The sentence.
Oh, and this part.
Okay. My mother is thinking of opening a restaurant.
So from a non-restrictive.
A non-restrictive relative clause can modify a single noun, a noun phrase, or an entire preposition. My mother is thinking of opening a restaurant. My mother is an excellent cook. My mother is already a clearly defined noun, so the second sentence becomes a non-restrictive relative clause set off by commas on both sides. My mother, who is an excellent cook, is thinking of opening a restaurant.
Very
I'm
good.
going.
Thank you, Suzanne. Very good. So here we're saying everything we already saw with the last exercise or the last little example I gave you. That is, non-restrictive relative clauses are always going to give us additional information. It's not necessary, it's not vital, but it helps, right? So right here, we have those two sentences. My mother is thinking of opening a restaurant. My mother is an excellent cook. So how do we combine them? My mother, who is an excellent cook, we give the extra information, we get it out of the way, we say it right after the noun, and then we continue with the sentence, the normal sentence, the main sentence. So remember, in a non-restrictive relative clause, the important thing is going to be the action. This is the most important part. This extra information, that's it. This is extra information that can help us, it can be of use, and it can not be of use. We can have it, we cannot have it. But the important part is here. Right here is the action. This is the most important part in non-restrictive relative clauses. Why? Because they just give us additional information. That's it. So, up to now, are there any questions about restrictive relative clauses and non-restrictive relative clauses?
No.
No, awesome. Everyone in the same boat?
Yes.
Awesome. So, this is basically what we're going to see for these first 3 classes. Tomorrow we're going to do a bit more exercises about this, just to get it out of the way, to review it. You already told me you saw a bit of this already, so this is just a simple review. This is just to remember what we saw on the previous level to use it on this next one. So we're going to do the exercise for this tomorrow at the beginning of the class, and then we'll move on to the next little subject or topic. So what I want to ask you right now before class ends, in other groups that I've taken that were a bit further on levels, they told me they didn't have a complete grasp on the pronunciation um of past verbs, right? So from the pronunciation of regular verbs in the past form, being the ed termination. So I want to ask you, do you have this already mastered? Have you seen this? Let me show you the one I use with my groups. 1 second, 1 second. There we go. So I'm going to share my screen. 1 second. So I want to ask you, have you seen something like this? The pronunciation of the ed. When do we use ed? When do we use just the T sound? And when do we use the V? Have you seen all this?
Yes.
Yes, so there are no issues. There's sometimes some groups have told me that they needed a review of this little subject. So I want to know, are all of you up to date with this? Do you all know? Have you seen it before?
Yes.
Awesome. Perfect, perfect. That's all I wanted to know. So thank you for answering. I just want to know in case some of you didn't have it completely grasped. I see we all did. So awesome, awesome. So if there isn't any other question, any other comment about the class, about what we're going to do, well, what we reviewed in today's class, I think we can leave this up to here. So are there any questions, any comments?
No,
No, teacher.
Awesome, awesome. Then, yeah, we can leave this up here. Rest a lot, take care, and I'll see you all tomorrow with the exercises from this exact same subject. Goodbye, everyone. Take care.